The brain hormones we need for good mental health are made in the gut by the bowel flora. Serotonin, GABA, these control our stress and anxiety, produce happiness, pleasure, motivation, bonding, self-control, and a host of other different things, all done in the gut. The drug companies tried to capitalize on this by using synthetics directed at the symptoms, trying to block function rather than stimulate function, and never dealing with the cause of disease, bad bowel flora. Now what we need to know is that mental health begins in the gut, and we need to stabilize the gut flora in order for us to treat mental disease, for us to treat any disease. I'm going to teach you how to do that in this short little video. The population of the world has had their bowel flora unbalanced. This has been due to many different things, and especially due to antibiotics, white sugar, boiling foods in oil, and a complete misunderstanding of the ideas of nutrition, including a disdain for plant and plant fiber. This led to the ideas of making juice, separating the fiber away from the fruits and making sugar, and etc. This has created a big problem in the bowel flora. When the bowel flora is upset, it produces mental disease because the bowel flora manufactures the different hormones, the serotonin, the GABA aminobenzoic acid, a host of other different types of vitamins and neurotransmitters are made in the bowel flora that stabilize the mind. With the bowel flora upset, people are unable to handle stress, prone to anxiety, an inability to process different stressful ideas, loss of memory, loss of intellect, and then mental disease. Mania, schizophrenia, the host. Years and years ago in Youngstown, Ohio, when I was working as a psychiatrist intern, I started to realize what was happening here. I started to realize that in order for me to get results, it was not by using the different drugs. You see, what the drug industry has done is, since we have messed up the bowel flora and created a problem where we're not getting the different neurotransmitters from the bowel, then they started making synthetic forms of these neurotransmitters, etc., that would then be able to try to help somebody. Not realizing that the major problem was the bowel flora upset and the lack of the neurotransmitters. So they tried to make serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They started to make different types of MAO inhibitors and synthetic hormones and synthetic this and synthetic that. In fact, I like to spell synthetic S-I-N. I recognized, working in Youngstown, that in order to really help people, I needed to balance their bowel flora. And when I balanced their bowel flora, all of a sudden schizophrenia, manic depressive, these things went away. We were able to cure these different diseases. People were then able to process properly. Now, I'd like to be able to share with you just how we did this in a very simple terms. First off, recognizing that around the world, the bowel flora of different people is different, because around the world, the microflora of where you live is different. It's extremely, extremely complex. In any one person at any time, there are over 1,000 different types of bacteria and fungus inside your bowel. Very, very complex. And the ideas of trying to bring this down to a simple pill or a simple procedure just became really a problem. People have tried different types of ideas of exchanging the bowel flora transplants, these type of ideas. And it just hasn't quite led to it. But here's what I found. In order to get rid of the bad bowel bacteria, people could do an antibiotic series. Antibiotics would clean the bowel. Very true. Okay, great. Antibiotics. But not everybody should take antibiotics, and we don't want to use antibiotics to clean the bowel if they're not needed, because the antibiotics also will upset manganese cycles, upset magnesium, upset different processes, and have a host of all different types of side effects. So, if I wanted to reset the bowel, I would use nature antibiotics, and I started using golden seal. rich in a substance known as berberine. Also the Oregon grapefruit. Now by using these things, I could help clean the bowel of the bacteria, good and bad, because this is an antibiotic effect. And then we would use different things like onion soup, garlic soup, and a different process to be able to stabilize the bowel. We have to make sure that the people are not eating the bad things, the synthetic food, chemicals, antibiotics, different types of things, foods boiled in oil, the chemical sweeteners, meat using antibiotics, and other type of farm synthetic chemicals. We had to get them off of the sugar, so we have to use fine applesauce as a replacement for the white sugar in all recipes, because we need fiber. We had to put fiber into the diet, plant fiber. We have to destroy the excess bacteria, and I used honey because a good dose of honey would kill the bacteria, but some people with that honey would have blood sugar reactions, so I had to watch out. I used a combination of Pau d'Arco tea along with the golden seal tea and those other things. Now we can use the formula, the Get Well formula, which has these berberine substances in them. By taking 4 pills in the morning, 4 pills at night, I could get people to get a good dose of their berberine and kill the bacteria. While they're doing this for 3 days, while we're cleaning out that bacteria for 3 days, making sure they're going to get their good garlic onion soup with pepper also involved, then we would then make sure that during those 3 days they're going to use prebiotics. We're going to make sure that they're going to get the type of food that's not going to burden their bowel with too much undigestible fiber. We want to use things like peas and cooked cauliflower, other things that are easy to digest, and what we call the prebiotics. This is all for that 3 days of intestinal cleanse, making sure that they chew their food very, very well, and get them into some exercise and some yoga. Managing the stress and the correct hemispheric breathing techniques that we use with some of our other videos. We want to make sure that then they're also starting to get some probiotic yogurt before bed. And then after our 3 days, we're going to then use the microbiome reboot, which is the 3 pills. And we're going to use that for 3 days, along with the B15, to help get some of the different types of vitamins into their system. And B15 is a vitamin that has been depleted in most of our food stores and in our soil around the world. So people need to get this. We want to make sure that they're getting some fermented foods like kimchi every day, some of the different fermented foods. And then we want them to get 25 grams of fiber, fruits and vegetables, 8 glasses of water, and avoid excess alcohol and synthetics. We want to try to switch them from synthetic chemicals and synthetic pharmaceuticals to natural antibiotics, natural pharmaceuticals, natural antifungals. And then finally, in stubborn cases, I would use a probiotic enema. Using a probiotic enema, retention enema, that would help then to get the different good bacteria into their bowel. So it's very important that we teach people what not to eat, and then we use this. I would use the activated charcoal to help to absorb different die-off of the bacteria, the bad candida. And the activated charcoal is very powerful at absorbing some of those chemicals and minimizing the die-off side effects that we're going to have when we kill these different bacteria and fungus. Then we got to teach people how to live correctly. Making sure that they're going to get their plant fiber in different foods, making sure that they can regulate their bowel flora, and also recognize that the bowel flora changes every half hour, maybe more. That 1 atom of xenon has been found to change the bowel flora in people. So we have to recognize that our interaction with our environment, the bowel flora, is constantly in a state of flux. And that we get good days and bad days. And it's impossible to avoid bad things that are going to change your bowel flora. You might go to a restaurant or buy something that has a little bit of toxins in it. Just small trace amounts that won't bother you but will upset your bowel flora. So we have to recognize that doing this bowel flora reset, doing this type of process where we go back to square one, this is something we might have to do every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, maybe once a year, maybe once every 4 years, as we start to get people better. And once we get them to the place of getting good, healthy bowel flora, then what we're going to find is that now our psychological talk methods of counseling are more productive. People can sort through their different problems, solve their different problems, and be able to get to good mental health. But without good bowel flora, without that source of good neurotransmitters from the bowel, it would be impossible. So this is the basic procedure that we use to help to get the bowel flora correct.